Hey guys, quick video today on how to conduct a sales call for SMMA agencies for beginners. Now, this could apply to anyone who runs a marketing agency of any kind, SEO agency, Google Ads agency, social media agency, etc., or a marketing consultant who's trying to get more clients as well. In this video, I'm gonna cover a very basic rundown of the flow of a sales call, how to conduct that sales call, and some very simple but effective tips on how to increase your close rate and honestly just get more comfortable and have more fun doing sales calls for your business. For reference, me and my team have conducted thousands of sales calls for our marketing agencies and consultancies over the past 4, 5, 6 years, okay? Now, what I'm gonna be talking about in this video is a very basic rundown of how the flow of a sales call should go. However, if you want to check out a very in-depth 8-step process or my 8-step sales script for conducting sales calls for agencies, check it out. It's somewhere on my YouTube channel. Just go to my YouTube channel. It's like a blue thumbnail. It says 8-step sales process. Check that one out. But to break it down very, very simply, first, we need to talk about the sales process in general, and then we can start to break down the individual components of the sales call. So what I mean by sales process is, are you doing a 1-call close or a 2-call close? If you have a consulting offer or a coaching offer, you might be able to get away with a 1-call close, especially if you're sending the applicant or prospect pre-call materials to where they are getting familiar with you and your offer before the call. However, if you're running a marketing agency, just how I was running an SEO agency, I prefer to do a 2-call close in that scenario where I would do an intro call or a triage call or a discovery call, whatever you want to call it, where I would learn about the prospect, meet them, build up a rapport, learn about their business, see if it is a good fit and pre-qualify them. And then if it is a good fit, I would set the closing call or the demo call. So it was a 2-call close process. So before we even start to talk about how to conduct that closing call, you need to figure out, are you doing a 1-call close or a 2-call close? What's your sales process? So having said that, in this video, we're gonna talk about that closing call. So if you do a 1-call close, boom, that's the call we're talking about. If you do a 2-call close, we're only talking about the second call or the closing call, demo call, whatever you wanna call it, okay? So let's start talking about the number one goal of a sales call, okay? Let's zoom out really quick and talk about what is the actual goal of you getting on a sales call with someone? Well, the goal, in my opinion, is for you and the prospect to have an open and honest conversation, which you are leading, by the way, to determine whether or not it is a good fit for the both of you to work together. If you have a service or product that can help them and they have the means to invest into the solution of that problem, which you can offer to them, if it's a good fit in that regard, then perfect. We've accomplished the goal of the sales call. So having said that, I just wanted to, again, zoom out and make sure we're on the same page about what the goal is. I could teach you tons of very, very powerful sales tactics and psychological tactics, but at the end of the day, we need to be ethical, and the goal of the sales call is to only sell something to someone who needs it and can benefit from it. So without wasting any more time, let's dive into the basic structure of a sales call. Again, I have the 8-step sales process video you can check out on this YouTube channel, but I'm gonna break it down even simpler in this video. We're gonna have in a sales call the introduction and rapport. That's when you get to know the prospect and build up some credibility and authority and rapport. The second part is gonna be discovery. This is when you learn more about their business. The third part, transition and permission is what I call it. So you're transitioning from the discovery where you just learned a lot about the prospect's business or them as an individual, and you're transitioning into basically communicating to them, okay, I understand where you're at and I believe we can help. Can I have your permission to tell you a little bit about how our business works and how we could help you solve that problem? And then that's a nice transition into the next part, which is the pitch. This is essentially you telling the prospective client how your service or product works and what they can expect and what results they could expect to achieve as well, okay? And then the last part is gonna be temperature check and then objections and close. So after doing the pitch, after explaining to them what your product or service is, you want to temperature check them. You want to ask them, hey, based on everything I talked about, do you feel like this is the right solution for your problem, right? So do you feel comfortable with this being the right solution for you? Some people ask this question on a scale from 1 to 10, like, hey, on a scale from 1 to 10, how good do you feel about this solution and implementing this solution into your business? And then if they say like 5, we can ask them, okay, well, like why a 5? And they're gonna tell us what's lacking and what we need to start focusing on in terms of objection handling. Or they could say something like, oh, it's an 8. And we can tell them, oh, cool, that's pretty high. I'm curious though, why not a 4 or a 5? And they may start to tell us things that they really like about our service, so we know what to really lean into. So there's some strategy behind the 1 to 10 temperature check. But at the end of the day, you need to get some kind of temperature check to know if you should proceed into the closing stage of the call, okay? Now, before you just ask them for a credit card number and go straight to like, hey, Visa or MasterCard or whatever, all the stuff that those cool sales trainers say, before you go right into that close, you want to dig up any objections. Yes, it's good to do a temperature check and maybe do the 1 to 10 scale thing, but at this point in time, before we actually roll out the investment or the price of what we're selling, we want to try to dig up as many objections as possible. Most people who are new to sales think that the goal is to prevent or eliminate objections altogether, when experienced salespeople will tell you the goal is to just find the objections as soon as possible. There's going to be objections, okay? You might have some lay down sales every once in a while, but the majority of the time, the prospect may have 1 or 2 or 3 reservations about going ahead and handing you a credit card number. And our goal is to find those objections as quickly as possible. I have other trainings on my YouTube channel about how to handle certain objections, whether that's I need to talk to my spouse or my business partner. That's too much money. I wasn't expecting that price. I'd like to wait until next month when I have some more funds available. There's a whole slew of objections that, again, we can get into in other videos. But the thing is, what I'm trying to communicate right now is your goal should be to find the objections and handle them, discuss them with the prospect before you roll into actually pitching the price, okay? The thing is, if we don't handle objections before rolling out the price, and then we roll out the price and the prospect says, well, you know what, let me think about it, or I'm not really sure, it costs more than what I thought it was gonna cost. They start shouting out these like smokescreen type of objections. We don't really know if it is a smokescreen or if it's a real actual objection because we didn't try to dig up those objections and handle them earlier on in the call. So here's a really good example of how to make sure that we handle all of the objections before the price pitch to make sure we don't end up getting hit with smokescreen objections or ghost objections, okay? One phrase that a lot of salespeople like to say, or one question they like to ask is, hey, aside from money or the investment, which we'll get into here in just a minute, is there any reason why you wouldn't move forward today? That's a great catch-all blanket question to try to dig up some objections. Now, the goal is to find the objection, handle it, and then loop back around and ask that question again. Okay, now that we talked about, talking with your spouse or your partner, okay, now that we talked about affordability and which we're gonna cover in a minute, now that we talked about how this affects the other aspects of your business or whatever, the question that you had before. Now, other than price, which we're about to get into, is there any reason why you wouldn't move forward today? And we're either gonna dig up another objection and do the loop all over again, or they're gonna say, no, all my questions are answered. I feel really good about this. Yeah, go ahead and tell me what the investment is. Then we can roll into the investment. And then after they hear the investment, if they have another objection, we know it's most likely only about price and affordability because we already handled their other objections before. The last situation you want to be in a sales call is whenever you communicate the price and you start getting objections, but you don't really know what the objection is about. So the question of, hey, other than price, is there any reason why you wouldn't move forward today? That's a great way to dig up any real objections before getting into the price. Hope that makes sense, guys, okay? So to recap, there's intro and rapport, which is when you're getting to know the prospect, building up rapport and credibility. There's discovery. I could do a whole video training series on this. This is where you ask the prospect questions about their business and start to understand if it really is a good fit. If they are in a situation where your business or your product or service can help them. Then transition and permission. And then the pitch, this is when you lay out what you do and how you do it. And then temperature check, objections, and close. By the way, I hear a lot of sales trainers saying all these crazy, sexy sounding things about how to close. Like, hey, what's the best closing statement? What's the best closing question that you can ask? I see people ask these questions in like sales Facebook groups and whatnot. And you'll see a lot of these like sleazy sales coaches say, oh, the best closing statement or the best closing question is Visa or MasterCard. You roll out the price, you tell them what it is, and then whenever there's a moment of silence, you just ask them, so Visa or MasterCard? It's like, okay, bro, that sounds really cool on a sales training video, but how awkward would that be in an actual sales conversation? If I was buying something and we were near the end of the conversation and there was like a little bit of a pause and then someone said to me, so Visa or MasterCard? I'd be like, dude, let's hang up. Like, that was such a weird thing for you to say, right? So the way I like to effortlessly and smoothly slip into the close is by communicating next steps after I've gotten kind of the green light from them. And then I ask them what they think about the next steps. And if I get a positive feedback, then I'm going to roll into the order taking process by starting to ask for information such as their billing address. I'm not just gonna say Visa or MasterCard, I'll start with billing address. It's a nice, smooth transition into the close. So here's a word track example of exactly how that would go. Okay, let's imagine you're at the end of a sales conversation and you say, okay, so the next steps are, what we would do is we would go ahead and take the initial payment today. After that, we wanna go ahead and book your onboarding call, which we would like to have done within the next 1 to 2 days. That onboarding call is when we're gonna get all the information we need from you to start your advertising campaigns. And then within 5 to 7 business days, we'll be able to go ahead and launch your campaigns. So like I said, we'll do the payment and then onboarding call, and we should be live within 5 to 7 business days. Does all that sound good? And if they have any kind of positive reaction, like, yeah, sounds good to me, or yeah, let's go, or yeah, I got it, okay? What I'll do is I will just assume the close and roll right into the order taking process, okay? So let's say they say, yeah, that sounds good. I would say, okay, cool, awesome. Well, let me go ahead and pull up this form. Let's go ahead and get started with your billing address, please. Boom, and then right there, I'm starting to fill out the form and I'm rolling right into the order taking process and the payment processing process. Okay guys, so that almost does it for this video. My goal was to make this a much shorter video because my previous videos in the past few weeks have been very beefy and lengthy and dense. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned a lot from this. If you have any questions, ask them down below. For instance, I breezed through the topics of intro and rapport, discovery, transition, etc. If you want to learn more or have me do a deep dive video about any of those topics, please comment below and ask your questions there. I read all the comments myself. By the way, if you could hit the like button and the subscribe button, that would help out my channel tremendously. And I wanna leave you with one last piece of advice, okay? I would say the best piece of advice or the best recommendation I can give you is just focus on repetitions. I know this is a piece of advice you've probably heard before, and that's because, quite frankly, it's a good one. You need to get the reps in. You need to have a huge amount of repetitions to get better and better and better at sales. If you're doing your first or second or third or 8th sales call, it's gonna feel a little awkward. You're gonna feel like part of your brain is thinking about the script that you probably wrote out yourself, and then the other part of your brain is focused on actually having the conversation with the real human on the other side of the screen or on the other side of the table, right? But it will get better over time. You will get more and more comfortable with it over time, and you will get to a point, just like I have, even though a couple years ago I was very introverted, you will get to a point to where you really start to enjoy these conversations, and sales conversations become a very, very fun conversation between you and a prospect, where it's just you and another person figuring out if it's a good fit to work together. And if it's not, that's cool too. Hopefully we can have a great conversation and maybe you can refer them to someone else. Like, we're just problem solving here and having a good free-flowing conversation with another human. Now, in the beginning, you may need to script it out and you may seem a little bit more rigid because you want to make sure you ask all the right questions and really nail down the basic flow of the sales conversation that we talked about in this video. But at the same time, over time, you will get to where it becomes more of a free-flowing, enjoyable conversation with another human about solving one of their biggest problems, which is a really fun and exciting thing to do. So again, repetitions. Don't beat yourself up after call number 2 or 8 or even 15. You will get better over time. The issue is that most agency owners or marketing consultants don't have enough at-bats. They're only doing like 2 or 3 or 4 sales consultations per month. Therefore, it's gonna take them like 5, 6, 7 months to get good at sales. What you need to do is get better at creating opportunity, generating more leads and appointments for yourself, which of course is another topic for another time, okay? But having more opportunity, that will create a lower pressure environment because you know, hey, if I botch this call or if this person doesn't sign up or whatever, I'm gonna have another at bat later today or tomorrow morning or whatever. So create more opportunity for yourself to reduce the pressure of trying to close every deal. Get the repetitions in, don't beat yourself up after the first 2 or 5 or 10 calls, okay? And make sure you are following a basic flow, a basic structure to your sales call that includes the rapport, discovery, transition, pitch, temp check, objections, close, everything we talked about in this video, okay? Hope this video was informative. Again, comment down below if you want me to do a deep dive video on any of those pieces of the puzzle that we talked about. Please like and subscribe, it really helps my channel. We'll talk soon, thanks.